Hello, Put Me in Coaching family. It is good to be back. We took a couple weeks off. Scheduling was just a little bit crazy. So good to be back, fresh off of vacation. I spent some time up in Massachusetts and Boston and a few other of the surrounding areas visiting some friends. And it was just a very much needed vacation. And what was great about it is I didn't even go fully off plan, right? As far as it goes to my activity and my eating and all of that, it was just nice to get away, change the scenery, all of that. So tonight we're going to talk about how mediocrity is not an option. And this has kind of come to light because I think a lot of times we get so focused on the concept of all or nothing that we end up doing the nothing and then we just achieve mediocrity, right? But how do we achieve greatness? How do we get from mediocrity, which is kind of where we're at? Some people are a little less than mediocrity, right? But how do we get and push the needle to become great without burning ourselves out? Now, most of you who know me know that I stay very, very busy, right? That's just kind of the nature of the season that I'm in right now. But I stay busy with the things that are moving me toward my goals so that when opportunities like the one that just came about, where I was able to go on vacation for a couple of days, I still did a little bit of work, but I was still able to focus on my goals and just kind of decompress a little bit, right? So that I'm ready and focused coming back and heading into fourth quarter, right? October, November, December. We're already at October 5th, right? So this is a big thing. We're heading into fourth quarter. So what are we doing to become great, to really break that mediocrity barrier? Right. So when we think about it, right, we our current habits are leading to our current results. We've talked so much this year about habits and how do we make those little changes that lead to big time results. Right. But think of what your current habits are. Not your current activity, but your current habits. What are the things that you do without thinking about? That's your current habits. Now, you may be in the process of trying to change those habits, and that's the goal, right? Because if we were doing what worked and those were our habits, we would be achieving the goals we want to achieve, right? We would be past that mediocrity. But where we start to hit that mediocrity wall, I think, is where our old habits are trying to drag us back in. And that's our ego getting in the way. And that's just all of those things that are working against the progress we want to make. Okay. And I think a lot of times, and the power of these classes, right? So you have the opting in piece of it, the education, accountability, tracking, behavior modification, tracking your wins, and giving back. That's our 7-step signature system. But when you look at the education piece as well as the behavior modification piece, I heard this phrase the other day and it was very eye-opening because sometimes we think, why do I continue to do the things that I do? Because I know what I'm supposed to do, but I'm just not doing it. Right? I know the information, but I'm just not doing it, right? But spaced repetition, which that's exactly what these classes are. Spaced repetition is one of the most powerful transformational strategies because what it does is it reprograms your brain to then think habit and create new habits and lean towards the next habits. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about vision today as we head into the fourth quarter, because the best thing we can do for ourselves in the fourth quarter is write the vision, which is exactly what we talked about last class, right? Write that vision and make it so plain that we have no choice but to move from mediocrity to greatness. All right, because we're so laser focused. All right, so think about it. And we talked about this last time, but what do you want your life to look like? What do you want your life to look like? And it's never too late. That's the beauty of it. We can make changes no matter how young, old, whatever we are, right? We can change and course correct and get to where we want to be. So, what do you want your life to look like? And what story are you going to tell when you have what you want? And what is that burning desire? Okay. And I have some statistics that I want to share. Because when we talk about goals, right? And so we've written the vision, we've made it plain. Now we've got to create a goal attached to that vision. All right. And a goal is simply a plan that's turned into a checklist. We prioritize it, we schedule it, and we check it off. Right. For those of you that are very type A and love to make checklists, this is great news, right? Because a goal is simply something we just turn it into a checklist, we prioritize it, we schedule it, and we check it off. This is what we talk about when we talk about scheduling in what you need to do. But if you think of your goals in terms of, hey, I've got to check the box, I've got to check it off, right? And when I was visiting my friend, I'm someone that I plan, right? And I plan my day out the night before. I know what I'm going to do, but I'm a little more laid back than a traditional type A person, right? She asked me today as she was taking me to the airport. She's like, she said, "Is your flight on time?" I said, "Oh, I don't know. I haven't checked. I'm sure they'll send me a notification if it's not." She's like, "I would have looked at my boarding pass like 4 or 5 times." I was like, I didn't even download my boarding pass. I checked into my flight yesterday, but I didn't download my boarding pass, right? And that's, I'm kind of in between there, right? I don't love to plan everything, but I have an idea of what I'm going to do and it'll get done, right? Now I do plan my days out because I've recognized if I'm going to achieve my goals as far as fitness and all of that goes, I have to have a plan, right? I have to have it scheduled in or it's not going to get done. Right. But if it's something that doesn't really require a whole lot of planning, I'm like, I have an idea of what it's supposed to be, so it'll get done. Right. So a goal is a plan that's simply turned into a checklist. It's prioritized, it's scheduled, and then we check it off. All right. So I want to break this down in terms of numbers. Okay. So when you have an idea or goal, right, the chance of it happening, right? So when we think about manifesting and scripting and writing the vision and making it plain, all of those things, think of this, okay? So if we just simply have an idea or goal and we just think about it, but we don't make that checklist, there's a 10% chance that it's going to happen. That's a chance. Not a very high chance, but it's a chance, right? When we consciously decide, so we opt in, there's step one. When we consciously decide that what it is we want needs to happen, then there's a 25% chance that it'll happen. 25% is still failing, right? A failing grade, but we're moving on up a little bit, right? When you decide you will do it, when you decide when you will do it. So when you decide when, you put a date on it, right? When you decide when you will do it, there's a 40% chance that it'll happen. So you see these prioritizing, scheduling it, and checking it off. We're slowly getting to that checklist. Okay. When you decide when you'll do it, 40% chance. When you plan how you will do it, there's a 50% chance of it happening. There's that mediocrity. We can plan all day long, right? We can plan how it's going to happen all day long. And if you don't plan, right, it's not going to happen. Well, there's a less than 50% chance it'll happen. Okay. When you commit to someone else, so that's that accountability piece, right? When you commit to someone else, there's a 65% chance it will happen. But then when you have a specific accountability appointment with the person or group you've committed to, there is a 95% chance that your vision is going to happen. So that's the statistics. When we talk about accountability, that's where the accountability comes in and the tracking of the 7-step signature system. So the opt-in is, okay, I've consciously decided I'm going to do it, right? So the opt-in, that's about 25% of what we need to do, right? You decide when you're going to do it. You plan how you're going to do it. We're still at the mediocrity phase there. But when you commit to someone else and schedule a specific appointment and you have that accountability appointment, there is a 95% chance. I was listening to a YouTube video the other day, and it was Reverend Eric Thomas that was talking. And he was talking about how he's in this accountability group, and it's for a fitness accountability group. And they talk about their goals and their exercise and what they do, right? And all they do is just post in the group message that they've done whatever it is they're supposed to do. And he said, I think I'm more committed to the accountability and I think I like the accountability even more than I like doing the activity. But I'm so committed to the activity or the accountability that I have no choice, but I'm just getting it done, right? I'm so committed to the accountability. Because who wants to show up to an accountability appointment that you have with a person or a group of people, and you have to time and time and time again say, I didn't do it. I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I didn't get done what I was supposed to get done. Right? So when you think about that, really think about, where is it in your process? Do you not have a vision, right? You've got to have a vision. You've got to have a goal, right? You've got to have that 10%, right? But you have to consciously decide. So you have to opt in. If you don't opt in, then nothing's ever going to get done. You have to plan how you're going to do it and decide when you're going to do it. Right? If nothing else, if you plan how you're going to do it, you've got a 50% chance of making it happen. That's that mediocrity. But then you commit to someone, whether it's an accountability partner, whether it's a coaching program, whatever that is, because the last thing you want is to show up to that appointment over and over and over again with nothing to report. Right? Because then you've not only let yourself down, but you've let your accountability group down. And so when we think about that, I think it's really important to understand that we have to really train our brains to think about what it is we want, right? In a positive tone, okay? And where do positive thoughts come from? Because we have to stay in that positive frame of mind. Does that mean that we're always going to be 100%? No. You're allowed to have your moments, right? But where do positive thoughts come from? And I've done some research on this, right? The first place they come from is exercise, right? It's just like Legally Blonde says, right? Exercise gives you endorphins. Endorphins make you happy. Happy people just don't kill their husbands, right? That's the whole line. That's the whole basis of the defense, right? In that, but it's true. How many times, and think to yourself, how many times have you ever not wanted to do a workout, but you make yourself go and you make yourself do something? And then at the end, are you ever mad that you did it? No, right? You feel great. You're glad you did it. Right? So exercise really helps set the tone. I know me personally, when I don't work out in the mornings, a lot of times I don't have the best attitude for the remainder of the day. Right? It's just how it is. because my body is so used to working out in the mornings. It's used to that hit of endorphins. Okay. And also, when your cells are fully oxygenated, disease can't grow. Right. So, how do we keep our cells fully oxygenated? We work out, we exercise. Right. The next place positive thoughts come from is from drinking water. When we're hydrated, we think more clearly. Right. So make sure you're hydrating. This is all what we eat, what we think, and what we do, and how they are intertwined. Right. Where else do positive thoughts come from? Nutrient dense foods. When I eat clean, I feel amazing. That's a scripting statement that you can use. Right. We're able to think more positively because we're fueling our body with what it needs. Sleep is another one. And how much sleep you need is totally dependent on your personal needs, right? I'm usually good. If I get about 6 hours of sleep, I'm good to go. I don't need much more than that. Right. But if I'm consistently getting 4 or 5, that's when my body starts to say, hey girl, you need to take a break. You need to go sit down somewhere. Right. But if I get 6 hours of sleep, 5, 6, I'm good. Right. 5 some nights, 6, 7 other nights, I'm good. I'm not someone who really needs 8 hours of sleep. Right. But if you are, how do you get it? How do you do that? All right. And then the last one is reading and listening to positive things. We have to be so mindful about what we're consuming. Right. The trip I just went on, we went and visited a lot of like murder mystery things. And so it's really important that I balance that out. Right. So every morning I start my day with some positive and motivational things. And that's a habit. That's something that's ingrained in me, so much so that YouTube just pops up every morning with a suggestion because it knows what I listen to every morning. Right? I don't have any reminders set or anything, but YouTube knows. So it suggests a positive motivational video every single morning. And typically I just click on that one. Right? But when we're so wrapped up, right? One of my friends was trying to talk to me about politics, and I was like, I don't even know. I don't, and not that I don't care what's going on, but I don't know that much about it. I know what directly affects me, and that's about it. And that may be a little selfish, but right now I'm so focused on where I want to go and what I want to do. It's so important that I tune out all the bad stuff as much as possible, because goodness knows there is a ton of bad stuff out there. You can turn on the TV and hear something bad. You can open up Facebook and hear something bad. And I'll be honest, most of my Facebook and Instagram feeds, it's sports, fitness, a little bit of psychology, definitely a lot of motivational things. It's about it. Because I've cultivated my algorithm to look like that. I don't see the political posts on there. I don't see any of that because I've curated what the content that I want to see, right? By what I pay attention to, what I watch, right? So I see a lot of sports stuff. Right now, it's a lot of football stuff, right? Because it's football season. All right. So be very mindful about what you're reading and what you're listening to. Make sure that your algorithms are curated to the positive stuff and the things that are going to help you move you towards your goals. All right. And then you have the 30-second rule. I say the 30-second to 5-minute rule, right? If something is upsetting and you're angry about something, give yourself 30 seconds to 5 minutes, but however long you decide, set a timer, give yourself that time to be mad, be upset, do whatever you need to do. And then you move on, right? You've allowed yourself to be upset. You've allowed yourself to process, and then you move on and you get right back focused on where it is you want to go. All right. So where is it in Q4 that you need to really take a hard look about what your vision is and where is it that you need to get laser focused to be able to reach those goals. Maybe it's the planning phase. Maybe it's the getting locked into the accountability phase, right? Where is it that you need to really focus to get where you want to be? All right. So that is your homework between now and next week's class, is to really get laser focused on what it is that you want. And I want you to create a plan. I want you to opt in. I want you to decide when you're going to do it. I want you to plan how you're going to do it. And then I want you to come up with an accountability process. Okay. Who is it that you're going to check in with? And when are you going to check in with them? And how are you going to check in with them? Okay. So that's where we're at right now. And I want to see us all crush Q4 so that we set ourselves up for an incredible 2026, because we can be 3 months into achieving our goals by the time 2026 rolls around. So let's decide, commit, act on that so we can be super successful for Q4 of 2025 and roll into 2026 way ahead of our scheduled plans. All right. So I will see you all back here next Sunday, 7 p.m. And in the meantime, I look forward to hearing what your goals are and how you are going to achieve those goals. And until next Sunday, I will see you on text message or in the comments here. And until then, have a super successful week and let's go crush those